and we'll pass things off to Britt, Central Saanich.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Britt Burnham. I am the Manager of Community Services for the District of Central Saanich. And I've asked the BetterHomesBC folks to join us tonight to help educate us on a popular new topic of electric heat pumps. Before I pass it over to them, I'd just like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Saanich people. And I'd like to talk a little bit about Central Saanich's climate leadership program. So Central Saanich has a climate action program. And if we can move to the next slide, I'd just like to tell you about our goals. So our first goal is that we hit 0 GHG emissions by 2050, but our interim goal is to reduce that by 45%, that's compared to 2007 levels, by 2030. And our other goal is to be 100% renewable energy community by 2050. And that pie chart there shows you currently where our GHG emissions are coming from as a community. And you can see that buildings are our third highest contributor. So one of the ways that we can bring that down is by working on our heating of our homes. So this is just a quick look at some of the things we're doing in Central Saanich to work on the building and land use front. So we've adopted the BC Energy Step Code and we're implementing that. That's about building our homes to a high energy efficient standard. We've adopted a residential energy retrofit strategy. We've completed an infill and densification study. So that looks at growth management and building compact, complete communities. We've worked on the Saanich Village Design Plan, which again looks at creating walkable communities and smaller homes that are more suitable to the size of homes that are energy efficient and that are suitable for our neighborhoods. We've just recently completed our tree bylaw review, and that's working to help protect the tree canopy in Central Saanich, which has been declining in recent years. Trees also help shade homes and can help with the cooling aspect of homes in the summer. And we have an annual tree appreciation day, which I'll talk about in a second. Corporately, we've installed one of the largest solar panel arrays in BC, actually, on our fire station on Keating Crossroad there. We are doing LED lighting upgrades in all of our municipal buildings, and we're going to be looking at net zero certification for the fire hall. We're also working on our OCP update, and climate action is really coming up as a huge priority in our OCP, and we're really expanding that section and we're excited about it. This slide is just to quickly show you the savings and the energy that's being produced by those solar panels. So you'll see in August, 97% of the energy used at the fire hall came from the solar panels. And then as we get into November, it's 24%, which considering our climate here, I thought was still pretty impressive. During the summer, when we produce more energy than we need, it's put back into the grid. And they've proven to be really effective energy source for that building. So that's a great project that was funded through our Climate Action Reserve Fund. And that didn't have any impact on taxes. And lastly, a really exciting program that we're about to launch is for anyone who's on an oil furnace at the moment. If you are moving from an oil furnace to an electric heat pump, we are launching one of the first funding programs for actually in the country. So Central Saanich homeowners will have access to 0% interest financing to replace their oil heating systems. The cost of this transition usually is around $12,000. So that amount would be put onto your property taxes. And then you would pay it off every in 10-year increments. The estimated annual savings of the oil for oil furnace is about $2,000, and that would go towards, or could potentially go towards paying off your loan. So it's net neutral and a way to help homeowners with that upfront purchase, which we hear is one of the biggest hurdles for them. So that program is going to launch in November. We're just working on the final stages now, but if you want to learn about it, please email planning@csaanich.ca. And we hope to see some of the other municipalities coming on board as there's more rollout of this program and more legislation that enables it in the coming months and years. So I think I'll just give a quick plug for Tree Appreciation Day. It's coming up in November. It's at Centennial Park. The community is invited. We'll be giving away some native plants. And Sayout Elder Earl Claxton Jr. will be there speaking about native plants. We'll also be planting as a community some fruit trees in an orchard, and the fruit will be harvested by the community. So you're more than welcome to come out and take part in that climate action initiative. If that interests you, we'd like to see you there. Thank you.
Thanks, Britt, and thank you for having us here today. My name is Sam, and I'm here on behalf of the Community Energy Coach program, as well as my colleague Elena, who will be presenting for you today. Our program supports communities, local governments, and industry stakeholders in the promotion of the CleanBC rebate programs, as well as the education of heat pumps. Of course, that's why you're all here today. And the webinar itself is being recorded, and all of the rebate amounts that we'll be talking about are available today. And the program is reflective, it can change. So we do always encourage you to visit our website for the most up-to-date information, which is betterhomesbc.ca. I also encourage you all to use the chat throughout the webinar for any questions that you might have. I'll be monitoring the chat and do my very best to answer your questions along the way. And we'll also have a short Q&A period at the end of the webinar. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge with respect the Coast and Strait Salish and Wassanic peoples on whose traditional unceded territory we are presenting today, as well as the Lekwungen, Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wassanic, whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day. And of course, I'd like to invite everyone else to acknowledge the traditional territory you are joining us on today. And with that, I'll pass things off to my colleague, Elena.
Thanks, Sam. Hi, everyone. Welcome and good evening. Thank you so much for taking a chunk out of your evening and joining us to learn about heat pumps. My name is Elena, and I'm really happy to talk to you about heat pumps today. So here's what we're going to cover. Like Sam said, she's going to monitor the questions in the chat box, but we have some time in the end to answer them as well. First of all, I would like to talk about what a heat pump is, roughly how it works, what types of heat pumps are most commonly used, especially on Vancouver Island, but basically all of BC. We want to see what the benefits are of heat pumps and why we get so excited about them. And then I will share some tips to know before you buy a heat pump, tips to know once you've bought a heat pump. I'll share some experiences of people in the Capital Regional District with you that they have with their heat pump. And of course, we will talk about the rebates that are available today, which are a lot. It's a lot of information and we don't have a lot of time. So I will also share my CleanBC Energy Coach service resources with you. That's a really great unbiased resource for you where you can call or email an energy coach to ask about rebates. But let's get started. Before I do talk about heat pumps, I want to talk about something that's basically just as important, and that is the house as a system approach. Because before you get started with installing a new heating system, like a heat pump or any other heating system, you should take a look at your home as a full system. Your home's different components, they all operate as a system, and if you change one of them, it affects the others. So for instance, in the case of wanting to get a new heating system, it is very important that you address your building envelope first. So that is your exterior walls, the windows, and the doors. You want to make sure that your home is nicely insulated, nice and airtight, and that you have good windows. The reason for that is if your home is kind of drafty and poorly insulated and you get a brand new super efficient heat pump installed, then that doesn't really help you at all because you lose most of that heat through your building envelope. also, if you get a heat pump installed first, and then in the next year you do insulation and air sealing and those things, then all of a sudden you might end up having a heat pump that is slightly oversized for your home, because now your home is nice and airtight and well insulated, but your heat pump was designed or implemented for a home that was pretty leaky. So that's something to keep in mind. And the best way to start is by having an EnerGuide home evaluation done for your home. An EnerGuide home evaluation is an unbiased, super comprehensive energy evaluation of your home based on an energy model. At the moment, they're in super high demand because there is a new federal rebate program that we will talk about, and that one requires evaluations. But those evaluations really give you a really good sense of what to prioritize in the home. Okay, but let's get started about the heat pumps. So a heat pump, basically, in short words, is a electric heating system that can either heat or cool your home. So you can use it for air conditioning as well in the summer. And it is, more importantly, the most energy efficient heating system you can possibly have at the moment. So it's about 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as the most efficient gas furnace you can find, and also 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as electric baseboards, for example. And also, very importantly, in terms of the climate, a lot of you probably know that in BC, we're super fortunate that our electricity mainly comes from hydropower. And so that means that in BC, electric heating is the most climate-friendly way to heat your home. And that, combined with the high efficiency of a heat pump, that gives you the most energy efficient heating system and the most climate-friendly heating system that you could possibly have. And I actually believe that even you might not have a full-on heat pump, you probably have a type of heat pump in your home, because just to show you that a little bit more, your refrigerator really is a type of heat pump. It's an insulated box with a compressor in it. So if you see this here in your refrigerator, these are the refrigerant lines that give it the name. And those refrigerant lines, they absorb heat energy from the inside of your fridge. And that then flows through a compressor. That compressor pumps it up to a higher temperature level and basically releases it to the back of your fridge, because heat always travels to cold and the refrigerant is hotter than the indoor air of your home. So I know we all try to avoid looking at what's behind our fridge, but if you did, then you notice that there is warm air coming out of the back. So really, your refrigerator is a type of heat pump. But let's take a look at the proper one. So here you see a central system heat pump. If you see this home, this is the outside of the home, and this is the inside of the home. On the outside, you see this outdoor unit, as we call it, and that entails or contains refrigerant lines. And even on cold winter days, there is still enough heat energy left in the ambient air that is absorbed by that refrigerant, because heat always travels to cold. And in this outdoor unit, there's the compressor that we also have in a fridge. And that compressor pumps that temperature level up to a higher level, which gives it the name heat pump, and then basically just pumps it to the inside of the home, where in this case, there is a huge air handler that connects ductwork throughout the home for forced air heating. So in short, heat pumps move heat from one place to another. And then let's say it's the summertime now and you want to cool your home. So the inside of the home is hot and humid. You have the refrigerant in here, and you can just reverse the cycle and put your heat pump in cooling mode. And then the heat pump, the refrigerant, will absorb heat from the inside of your home and basically move it to the outside, where it is then dumped to the outside of your home. That is how the heat pump would then cool your home. Here's a little a little animation where you can see that. That's a little bit of a different type of a heat pump. So in this case, we have a mini split ductless heat pump, smaller outdoor unit, and it is connected to an indoor head. You've probably seen one of those before. It absorbs the heat and moves it to the inside of the home. So yeah, I guess I've already touched on it, but here are the different heat pump types. First of all, the central system. We call it a central system because it is a central heating system that is connected to ductwork throughout the home. So ideally used in homes that already have pre-existing ductwork. It comes with a larger outdoor unit similar to on this picture here, kind of a cube shape, and then it is connected to ductwork. There's also a special kind of central system heat pumps. We call them dual fuel central heat pumps. And dual fuel just means that this heat pump also is connected to a gas or propane furnace as a backup system. So the heat pump operates as the main heating system, but on the coldest winter days, the heat pump and the gas furnace switch over and the gas furnace kicks on to provide supplemental heating. However, I do want to say that especially on Vancouver Island and Central Saanich, heat pumps operate very, very well on their own. And a lot of normal central system heat pumps also come with an integrated electric furnace backup. So dual fuel systems aren't really required down here and on the lower mainland. And of course, the ductless heat pump. Ductless heat pumps have a smaller outdoor unit, and then usually they have indoor heads that are mounted on the wall, and they are connected through these little refrigerant lines and operated with a remote control. The great part about them is they don't require any ductwork, so they provide zonal heating in your home. And some other common names for them that you might have heard floating around before is a mini split heat pump or a multi-split heat pump. That's in the case where there's multiple indoor heads, or a heat pump split system. And then there's even those types of heat pump that are ducted mini splits. So there are situations where you could have mini ducts throughout the attic that connect to the odd bedroom. That's all really dependent on the size and layout of your home. Just to compare the two heat pumps, it's pretty self-explanatory, but so both heat pumps do provide air conditioning and air filtration. That's a huge advantage. And then only the ductless heat pump provides zonal heating. So it is really suited for homes that don't have any pre-existing ductwork, like homes that heat with wood or electric baseboards, homes that have a more open concept or that have the need for zonal heating. For example, you have an in-law suite in the basement or things like that. You want to heat parts of the home at a different temperature level than others. And the central system is the only one that does require ductwork. So that is ideal for a home that already has a good ductwork infrastructure and where there's a need for central heating. And also central systems have slightly better abilities to filter the air in your home. Okay, so that's about how heat pumps work. But now I'm really excited to share with you why we do get so excited about heat pumps. To summarize it, a heat pump gives you year-round comfort. It makes your home much more climate friendly, especially when you switch from a fossil fuel. It's the most energy efficient way to heat and cool your home. You get a healthier home thanks to the air filtration, and you don't pay any carbon tax on your energy bills, especially if you switch from a fossil fuel. So let's take a closer look at that. First of all, the efficiency. Some people often ask how is it possible that a heat pump heats with 300, 400% efficiency? Well, The reason for that is because heat pumps, instead of generating heat from scratch, so to speak, they absorb heat and move it from one place to another while pumping it up to a higher temperature level. So if you absorb this heat energy from the ambient air, even on cold winter days, that's all heat energy that you don't pay for. If you had electric baseboards, you have to turn 100% of that electricity into heat energy. However, here with the heat pump, you use heat that's already there, and you only add a little bit of added electricity to operate the compressor, for example. That's the electricity you pay for. And together, you get this heat output that could be the same with electric baseboards, but if you had electric baseboards, you would have the same electric input. So heat pumps use heat that's already there and just pump it up to a higher level. And that is how they can be so much more efficient than any other heating system, which makes them a very genius way to heat and cool homes. In the case of homes that heat with electricity, which I do believe a lot of you do have homes that are electrically heated, it's definitely the most cost-effective way to heat a home, because that goes hand in hand with the efficiency. Since heat pumps use so much less electricity, it is much more cost-effective than electric baseboards or an electric furnace. And for those of you who have fossil fuel heating systems, heat pumps help you to significantly reduce your carbon footprint of the home. Britt has shown you how much of an impact homes and buildings have in central Saanich on the climate, on the greenhouse gas emissions. And here we have a really interesting little graphic from the Capital Regional District from 2020. This is a home, the same type of home that was modeled as an energy model, once with an oil heating system, a gas heating system, and a heat pump. And you see that compared to the heat pump, oil and gas, the emissions are just significantly higher. So just by switching your heating system, you can make a huge difference in your home. And a lot of people actually don't know this, but heat pumps do provide very effective air filtration. So they help rid your home of pollutants and dust and pollen, allergens if you have any family members with allergies. And of course, I gotta say, unfortunately, we see forest fires more and more every summer, and that can really help keep your home clean and healthy. I also do know that a lot of you do heat with wood. Not with wood, that a lot of you are maybe thinking about switching to a heat pump. And the great thing about it is that heat pumps are very easy to use. They use the set it and forget it system. It's very low maintenance. You kind of set it to your preferred temperature level and you leave it there. And that's how they run the most efficient. And this is only the case for mini split heat pumps because they do provide zonal heating. So especially in homes where you have a basement suite and you want to heat that differently, or you have your home office that you want to heat at a different temperature than the rest of the house throughout the day, that is all possible with a mini split heat pump. Also, simply put, heat pumps are just a modern heating system. It's the heating system of the future. We do have a couple here, Ted and Carol from Saanich. To them, it's pretty important to make their home fit for the future and, climate change resilience and all these things. They have solar panels installed. They have an electric vehicle. But it was also really important to them to, I believe they had an oil heating system beforehand, to lower their greenhouse gas emissions through heating. So I really like to call heat pumps the Tesla of energy efficiency upgrades. And yeah, it just helps you make your home get ready for the future. And here we have the wood. Yeah, I know a lot of you do heat with wood as well. So there is this gentleman in Saanich. He was also heating with wood, and he was getting a little bit tired of cutting and hauling wood into his home to rely on that as a heating system. So he decided to get a mini split heat pump installed. You see the indoor head up here. And yeah, now he's just enjoying wood heating as just for ambience and whenever they feel like it. Okay, I hope I've convinced you that heat pumps are a pretty great form of heating. So here are some tips that we can give you before you buy a heat pump or things that you should consider. First and foremost, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to choose a contractor wisely. We do highly recommend to buy your system through a qualified installer and avoid buying wholesale or online. That is a really important tip. Definitely ask questions to your contractor. We will share a contractor search tool where you can find ones in your area, but get multiple quotes. Ask them whether they carry heat pumps commonly, if they know anything about the rebates out there and what the requirements are. Ask them about quotes, and yeah, just compare different installers. The other tip that we have is, of course, to consider house as a system, to address air leakage beforehand, address your maybe poor insulation levels, or check your windows so you don't get a super efficient heat pump installed and lose all that heat to the outside. And get a heat pump that is properly sized for your home, that is designed for your climate. You probably won't need a cold climate heat pump here on Vancouver Island. And also get a heat pump that may or may not include supplementary heating. You know, ask your contractor what they think is a good system for your layout and size if you have wood as a backup and those kind of considerations. And once you have gotten a heat pump for your home, here are some tips to operate your heat pump most effectively. The first operation tip is to set it and forget it. So in cold weather, it's best practice to set your thermostat to your preferred temperature level and let it be. This is because a lot of people think they do something good when they turn their heat pump off when they don't use it, and they think, oh, my heat pump's gonna operate even more efficiently if I do that. But actually, the contrary is the case. The opposite happens because a heat pump takes quite a while to get up to a certain temperature level, but once it's there, it runs very gradually and very efficiently. It's just because the refrigerant has to absorb all that heat, the compressor has to get going. So it's actually counterproductive to turn the heat pump on and off and on and off. It, in fact, runs most efficiently if you just set your temperature level that you prefer. Maybe, you can switch it up and down by a degree or two, but just leave it at its level, and that's how you're going to save the most electricity and money. And also, that's operation tip number 2, set your thermostat to a comfortable level. This is because, so when you switch from a gas furnace, any fossil fuel forced air heating system, you might be used to those intermittent blasts of hot air because the fuel is burned and then the furnace blasts hot air throughout your home. And you might be used to that and it feels very warm compared to the heat output of a heat pump. That doesn't mean that your heat pump can't heat your home to 21 degrees. A heat pump and a normal furnace would both heat your home to the same temperature level, but in comparison, the air that comes out of your ducts might feel cooler than what you're used to from a furnace. So for those who have a hard time with the transition period, they can just set their thermostat maybe to a degree or two higher than what they're used to. And here's just some maintenance considerations. Like we mentioned before, heat pumps are pretty low maintenance. Regularly, you want to check the manufacturer's manual, even though nobody likes to read manuals. And you want to clean the indoor filters of dust and pollen, especially after, pollen season and also after forest fire season. And of course, in the case of a mini split heat pump, you want to check the batteries of the remote control and replace them if necessary. Pretty self-explanatory. Then every spring and every fall, you want to clear the outdoor unit of any debris, leaves, snow, dirt, especially after, those stormy nights in the fall. And annually, it's very wise to schedule a servicing appointment with your installer. Don't skip that. You just want to make sure that everything's fine with the refrigerant lines and that your heat pump is still running smoothly and efficiently. So that is another question that you can ask your installer when you get quotes. Yeah, so what do you expect after heat pump installation? First of all, no more intermittent blasts of hot air. I did mention that. It runs much more smoothly. Changes to your hydro bill, of course. I mean, if you are switching from a fossil fuel, if you were heating with oil or gas beforehand, then you'll see an increase in your hydro bill, especially if you use your heat pump for cooling. Then, of course, your electricity bill will go up a little bit because beforehand you didn't cool your home. However, if you are currently heating with electricity, then you might very well see a decrease in your hydro bill because a heat pump uses so much less electricity. And outdoor noise. So that is something people are concerned about. However, yeah, heat pumps do make some noise. However, compared to the old generation heat pumps, they are so much more quiet. And heat pumps do come with sound ratings. So you can ask your installer for different sound ratings. There's bylaws. You can't just place a heat pump outdoor unit anywhere. Contractors are very trained to put heat pump outdoor units in the perfect spot. You can put them on rubber mats or, have some sort of hedge or some sort of covering around it. There is actually a really great resource from the city of Vancouver. It's Heat Pumps and Noise FAQ, and it debunks a lot of myths about noise and heat pumps. This presentation, as far as I know, will be shared with you, so I definitely encourage you to check that one out. Okay, so what do people who have already installed say about heat pumps? We do have some data from an old rebate program that was called the Oil to Heat Pump program. It was for folks who were switching from oil to a heat pump, of course. And those who participate in the program, they did a survey in the end, and 97% of those people said that they would install a heat pump again if they lived in a different home. And 81% actually said that they were satisfied or happy with their energy bills even after the heat pump installation. And keep in mind, they were switching from a different heating system to an electric one, and they were still happy with their energy bills, likely because the heat pump uses a lot less electricity. We also asked why people installed a heat pump. And for most people, it was just really important to get rid of oil. I'm not sure how many people here use oil, but that's a big factor. And for a majority of the people, it was just also really important to have a more climate-friendly home and be a little bit more ready for the future, have a more modern heating system. Okay, let's take a deep breath before we all jump right into the rebate programs. However, I do want to say something first, and that is that there are good news and bad news. The good news are there is a lot of rebate programs out there for heat pumps. There is so much financial assistance. It's a really great time to get a heat pump. And I guess the bad news is that it's a lot of information. It's a lot of requirements that you have to meet, a lot of things to consider. So we only have a small amount of time. I could talk about the rebates all night if you let me. But so the information that you're going to get tonight is probably going to be a little bit confusing. However, I will introduce you to the CleanBC Better Homes program, which is an unbiased information hub for British Columbians to learn about rebates and energy efficiency upgrades. So it's a government-funded program. It's designed to be an information hub. You can learn about heat pumps and insulation and windows and doors, all those things in an unbiased manner. And you can use the rebates search tool to find rebates in your area all in one spot without having to go on 5 different websites. The best thing about this program is that the CleanBC Better Homes website comes with an energy coach service. So the energy coaches, that's a team of people who are very well trained. They really know their stuff about all the rebates out there. It's not your typical call center. They really know their stuff. You can get on the website at betterhomesbc.ca, and you can call the energy coaches at any point of your renovation project to ask questions about the rebates. It's a toll-free number, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And you can also email them at ask@betterhomesbc.ca. So I mentioned the rebate search tool on the CleanBC Better Homes website. You can use that tool and indicate that you're renovating a home, and then you can put in that where you're located, so Central Saanich, for example. And then you have to indicate how your home is heated, and you will get a long list of all kinds of rebates that you could be eligible for. And for each rebate, for example, let's say the central air source heat pump rebate, you can click on it and you get to a summary page with all the eligibility requirements, all the application steps, basically everything you need to know in order to get this rebate. So before I go further, I just want to give you a sneak peek. There are 2 really big programs out there at the moment. One is a provincial program. It's called the CleanBC Better Homes program. And the other program is new since this year. It's a federal program, and that is called Canada Greener Homes. What I do want to say is I will talk about both of them. However, I will start with the provincial program and kind of give you the basics about the federal one. It's a totally separate one, but you can access heat pump rebates through both of them. So let's get started with the CleanBC Better Homes ones. Really just the basic eligibility criteria is that your heat pump has to be installed in an eligible home. So now that's just a single family home or a side-by-side row home or duplex, or also a mobile home on a permanent foundation. It just means that multi-unit residential buildings and condo buildings, bigger apartment buildings, aren't eligible. Also, the heat pump has to become the primary space heating system of the home. You cannot just use it for cooling. The heat pump rebates depend on the heating system that you had beforehand. And of course, you can't exceed the cost of the invoice date with your rebate, so you can't really make money with the heat pump rebate. And that's important. Not any heat pump qualifies for the rebates necessarily. That's what a lot of people think. The heat pump does need to meet certain energy efficiency requirements, and it needs to be on a qualifying product list. So now I'm going to go through the different rebate amounts that are offered as of today, September 29th, 2021. And I just want to say that those amounts can change. So before you get a heat pump installed, definitely check out the betterhomesbc.ca website. Here are the rebates for electrically heated homes. I know there's a lot of information here, but really this is just to show you the amounts right now. But for a ductless mini split heat pump switching from an electric heating system, you can currently get $1,000. And if you switch to a central system, which is the one with ductwork throughout the whole house, it's a $2,000 rebate. What I do want to say about the electrically heated homes is that that rebate is paid out by BC Hydro. So BC Hydro has a requirement. It's called the minimum electricity consumption requirement. So basically BC Hydro says, well, we want to make sure that you use enough electricity for us to feel like you're electrically heated, for us to say, okay, you're eligible as an electrically heated home, we will pay this rebate. They have a tool for that. So if your home has electric baseboards or an electric furnace, you first have to check your eligibility on BC Hydro's website. And the link is right here. It's bchydro.com/hero and then /eligibility. For this tool, all you need is your BC Hydro account number and the square footage of your home, and you plug that in, and it tells you right away whether or not you meet the requirement. Okay, so I know a lot of you are probably wondering, I'm not sure I heat with wood and with electric baseboards. That's very common, especially in Central Saanich, also in the Comox area, that's very common. So in that case, if you aren't really sure what your heating system is, if it's wood or electricity, you would use this tool. And the important part is just where the money comes from. So if you use the tool and it tells you you fail, you didn't meet the requirements, that doesn't mean that you're not eligible. It just means that BC Hydro doesn't consider you electrically heated. In that case, you would be considered wood heated. The rebate amount is the exact same. The only difference is that when you apply later on, you have to indicate that your heating system before the heat pump was wood, not electricity. And that is important because the rebate program needs to know where the money will come from. If you accidentally select electricity, even though you failed that tool, your application will likely be rejected. So again, if you heat with wood and electricity, just use that tool. If you succeed, if you meet the requirements, your home is electrically heated. If you fail the tool, your home is wood heated. The rebate amounts are the exact same. And so just now we're moving away from the electrically or wood heated homes. We're moving to fossil fuel heated homes. So now we're only talking about homes that are heated with oil, propane, or natural gas. Actually, just yesterday, super fresh, BC Hydro announced a new electrification plan. So BC Hydro now gives everyone who's switching from a fossil fuel, that's again oil, propane, or natural gas, an extra $3,000 on top of their normal heat pump rebate if they switch from a fossil fuel. And I'll show you the normal fossil fuel heat pump rebates in a second, but combined, that is a $6,000 rebate. That is in effect for all installation invoices that are made on or after September 28th, 2021. And here I'll show you. So these are the rebate amounts for homes that switch from oil, gas, propane, or to a heat pump. It's $6,000 for either a mini split or a central system. And then there's also the dual fuel heat pump. Remember from the beginning of the presentation, that's when you have an electric heat pump that uses fossil fuel as a backup. You don't get that BC Hydro $3,000 top up. That's why it's only the base rebate of $3,000. I do want to emphasize again, this top up here is only available for fossil fuel switching, not available if you heat with electricity or wood. And here are just a few more rebates for heat pumps that are probably a little bit less common. So there is air to water heat pumps, for example. They work the exact same way as centrals, as normal forced air heat pumps. However, they heat water instead of air. That rebates $3,000. Then there is a combined space and hot water heat pump. That's $4,000. And in some cases, I'll talk about that in a second, if you switch from a fossil fuel, there are cases where you have to upgrade your electrical panel, which can be pretty costly, and that is a $500 rebate. And we didn't really talk about heat pump water heaters tonight, but it's basically the same thing. Instead of heating air, it heats water for domestic hot water use, and the rebate is $1,000. So yeah, this is the electric service upgrade rebate. In some cases where people don't have an electric heating system, when they install a heat pump, they have to upgrade their service to 100, 200, or 400 amp. And you can get a $500 rebate if it is done in combination with a heat pump. As an alternative, so this is an alternative to the rebates, you can also access low interest financing, 0% financing actually. If you are switching from oil, gas, or propane, again, this is only available for fossil fuel heated homes. They can, instead of getting a rebate, choose to work with a finance registered contractor, which you can find on the Better Homes website, and access 0% financing for the same type of heat pump, which is a really great deal. So the loan size is between $1,000 and $40,000. You can either get the rebate or financing, but not both. But any special group purchase rebates or municipal offers, which I'll talk about, are in addition. Brings me to the group purchase rebate. The group purchase rebate is a really nice add-on to all the provincial rebates out there. And really, it is just an incentive for people to get together as a group, neighborhoods or organizations, to say, okay, we're gonna all install a heat pump around the same time. We're gonna get the word out, get together as a group, start or join a group, and then depending on the group size, each group member gets an additional rebate on top of their normal heat pump rebate. And you have to start or join a group on the group purchase rebate page. That's betterhomesbc.ca/rebates/GPR, which stands for group purchase rebate. Oh, too far. And lastly, in terms of the provincial programs, there are certain municipalities that do offer municipal top-ups. I have to say again, this is only for folks who fuel switch from a fossil fuel. So in the Capital Regional District, as you can see here, at the moment, the municipal top-ups of Central Saanich, North Saanich, and Esquimalt are fully subscribed. But the City of Victoria offers a $2,000 heat pump top-up. That's only if you live within the City of Victoria boundaries. And the District of Saanich has a $350 automatic top-up, but that is also only if you live within the District of Saanich's boundaries. And now, well, where do you get started to find a contractor? On the CleanBC Better Homes website, on betterhomesbc.ca/PRC, which stands for Program Registered Contractor, you can find contractors in your area. You can select heat pump from this little drop down, and you can type in Central Saanich, and you will find a randomized list of contractors in your area. So why are they listed? You don't have to work with them in order to get a rebate, but they are listed because they did go through additional rebate program training. So they generally know that the rebates exist, what the requirements are, how to look up a heat pump that qualifies, what the supporting documentation requirements are, and especially what the deadlines are. So that is a really great place to start. And for the finance program, there is also the finance registered contractor list. Keep in mind, for the finance program, you have to work with the finance registered contractor because they set you up with the loan. And that is a different search tool. It's just betterhomesbc.ca/FRC for finance registered contractor. Okay, I'm just going to take a little sip before we talk about the last program. Okay, so we have just talked about the provincial program. And again, a lot of information. Please, if you feel overwhelmed or stuck along the way, just call an energy coach. They are really knowledgeable about the provincial program. And now I'm going to talk about the new federal Canada Greener Homes program. The energy coaches can also help you, get started with this program, tell you the basics about it, but it is a totally separate program and it is federal. So I will share the contact information of this program as well. Yeah, Canada Greener Homes launched this year, May 27th, and you might have heard of it in the news. They offer up to $5,000 for energy efficiency upgrades, for example, heat pumps, but also a lot of other things. And they also provide a $600 rebate toward an EnerGuide home evaluation. In fact, EnerGuide home evaluations are required for the Canada Greener Homes grant. So for CleanBC Better Homes, you don't have to get an evaluation at all. You can just get a heat pump installed and apply for the rebate. But for the federal Canada Greener Homes grant, you have to do a pre-retrofit EnerGuide home evaluation, then get the heat pump and whatever other upgrades installed, and then have a post-retrofit EnerGuide home evaluation, and then apply for everything. A big one is also that you not only have to be the homeowner of your home, but also, even if you're the homeowner, you have to live in this home. So if you own a home and you rent it out, you are not eligible for this program. That is not the case with the provincial one, though. And the grants, they do stack with the CleanBC rebates. So you can get both rebates from CleanBC and also through Canada Greener Homes, but only up to 100% of your heat pump cost. Like I said, it is a federal program. So if you have any specific questions about, does my specific heat pump qualify, or does my home qualify for this grant, then you'll have to contact Canada Greener Homes directly. There is the phone number, and there's also the longest email address that you've probably seen in your life, but that is the Canada Greener Homes email address. And there is also an option for people who have had an EnerGuide home evaluation before the program launched. They can still use that. That is all on their website as well, on the Canada Greener Homes website. So you might wonder, well, okay, where do I get started then? If you are looking to maximize your rebates and you want to do the provincial rebates through CleanBC, but you also want to do Canada Greener Homes, then it is a really great idea to get started with an EnerGuide home evaluation, because the EnerGuide home evaluation is required for the federal program. We highly recommend that you find energy advisors on the BetterHomesBC website. That's betterhomesbc.ca/EA. That website is probably the most up-to-date in terms of energy advisors. They all confirmed that they go to the service areas, and we do know that energy evaluations are in very high demand at the moment. The Canada Greener Homes grant costs quite a whirlwind. And that's why we do recommend to contact many energy advisors to see who could book you in, and also to compare prices. And then you will have to, once you've found an energy advisor who can book you in, you then have to register for the Canada Greener Homes Grant. They have this online portal where you have to get started and select the energy advisor that you want to work with. Then once you have had your evaluation, please keep in mind that the federal and the provincial program are two separate programs with their own set of program requirements, their own set of eligibility requirements, and they also have their own qualifying product lists. So be sure to really review both programs before you get anything installed, especially in terms of the provincial program. Highly recommend contacting an energy coach. And for the federal program, you can always contact them as well, or talk to your energy advisor. Then in terms of deadlines, that is very important. For some reason, the Canada Greener Homes Grant does not have any deadlines at all. So the federal program doesn't have a deadline, but the CleanBC Better Homes rebates, the provincial ones, they do have a 6 months deadline from the invoice date. So after you've installed any upgrade that may be a heat pump, you only have 6 months to apply. So best practice is to apply as you go. As soon as you have the invoice, you just want to apply. For Canada Greener Homes, it's a little different because you actually wait until everything is installed and until after you've done your post-retrofit evaluation, and then you apply. Also, the question of how soon you should do your post-retrofit evaluation after the first one, best practice is to do it within 18 months. That's not a requirement for the Canada Greener Homes Grant, but for the provincial programs, it is wise to do it within 18 months because then you can access special bonuses, and also the provincial program does offer a $200 rebate for your initial evaluation. And if you finish it within 18 months and do the second one, you get another $100. Those 200 and 100 go on top of those $600 you can get through Canada Greener Homes. So for most people, it actually works out that they get all their money back for their EnerGuide home evaluation, which is really great. And cannot emphasize enough, don't forget to review the system requirements for your heat pump through both programs. Wow, okay, I guess we're basically at the end. I know that was a lot of information in a very short amount of time. So I'm going to leave the CleanBC Energy Coach Service phone number here again, and the email address ask@betterhomesbc.ca. Really great team of educated coaches, and below you also have, that's just for the provincial program, the BC Hydro Program Administration contact and the FortisBC Program Administration contact. That's basically it. It's time for your questions, but I'm going to leave the phone numbers up if you want to write them down. Oh, of course. Also, I would really like to thank you for your time. Thank you for your curiosity. It's always a pleasure to talk about heat pumps and the rebates. I gotta say right now is really the perfect time to get a heat pump because we've never seen rebates higher than right now. And yeah, thank you so much for attending tonight. And Sam, I'll pass it on to you for any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Elena. That was fantastic. Absolutely. And what we're going to do now is we're going to invite you guys to unmute yourselves and ask questions if you have any. For those questions that did come through the chat, I did my best to answer some of those questions. And you will all be receiving not only a copy of the webinar recording, but a copy of some question and answer, as well as the slides from the presentation today. But for anyone who has a question, you can use the raise your hand emoji or put yourself off mute and ask away.
And of course, if you can't think of a question now, I'm sure there will be some questions coming up. You can always contact the Energy Coach service, or Sam will summarize the questions and send them in the email.
We'll give it about another minute or so.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I was just wondering, I get the set it and forget it you talked about. What, and I understand why off and on continually that would never ideally work. What about, like, I'm not a big air conditioning fan. Like right now I have an electric forced air furnace with ducts. I would like the air conditioning, but only when it gets really hot, like a couple weeks, maybe a year during the year. Is it still worthwhile, or could you, like, I wouldn't want air conditioning all the time. Like if it's 22, 23, 24 in the house, I can live with that. I'd rather have fresh air in. Could you shut it down for 2 or 3 months? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Absolutely. In cases like that, it's more so the turning it completely on and off in a period of the day or a couple of days. So if it's, you know, a heat dome 2.0 next summer, who knows? You can definitely have it on for a few days and then not touch it again for a month and a half. That's not going to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I really.
Or even more energy efficient, I would take it then, if you're not running it 12 months a year.
Absolutely. Never heating or cooling your home is probably the most energy efficient. Yeah, I really meant it more so in a way over the course of the day that there are a few people who say, oh, I keep turning my heat pump off and then it takes so long to get it warm again. And they think they do something good. But yeah, you know, air conditioning is an option. I used to live in a home that had a mini split heat pump. I really miss it. And we never used it for air conditioning. I'm also not a super big fan of the cold air coming out, but we also didn't have heat waves then.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, the great thing is the heat pump comes with the air conditioning option by default, but of course, nobody needs to use it over the summer.
What about at night if you set it at 20, 21 and you got duct work? Or people complain they still too warm at night, or is it programmable where it can go down like to 17 at night?
Yeah, heat pumps, programmable thermostats are definitely an option. It's a good question for the contractor. There's, you know, better thermostats and older thermostats, but that shouldn't be an issue to be able to program that.
So only when it's straight on, like set it and forget it. Going up and down is no harm, but just
yeah, by a few degrees, it's definitely no harm. It's more so the shutting it off, like turning electric baseboards off and then turning them back on and expecting it to be warm right away, kind of thing.
Okay, great, thank you.
There was also
a raised hand, I believe. Yeah, I'm not sure. I missed that one.
Catherine.
I had a question.
Brenda, is it? Go ahead.
Yeah, we had an guide done of our house probably about 15 or 20 years ago. And I understand that it's no longer valid, which is fine. But we have insulated as best we can, windows, extra insulation, blah, blah, blah. And I am very interested in getting a heat pump. But when I inquired about the situation that I'm in, which is, yes, basically the house when it was built in 1976 was baseboard heating. But because we've done all this extra insulation and I like a fireplace and I have a gas fireplace for myself and my tenants downstairs, and I looked at my BC Hydro bill to see if I qualified, they said my hydro use was not high enough because, again, in 1987, I believe it was, we were eligible for and took and got E+. And that seems to negate doing anything for a rebate now. Do you want to tackle that one?
Speaking about the E+, so if you do install a heat pump, you would lose your E+ status with BC Hydro. That is something that does happen. In regards to that tool that you did with your account and your consumption, that isn't something that, you know, the CleanBC energy coaches design or anything like that. That is specifically something with BC Hydro. It's ultimately, you know, the case where there is the combination of natural gas fireplace and electricity. Because it's BC Hydro that does fund that rebate, they want to make sure that those that have higher electricity bills will benefit in a reduced utility bill because of a heat pump. But if they're not paying high bills already, then that money is going to a household that maybe has those higher bills due to that consumption rate.
So I don't qualify.
If the tool said no, that would be the case for the provincial program. Federally, though, for the Canada Greener Homes Grant, that one is not a requirement for the program because they have a different set of program requirements.
Okay.
So you may be able to access grants through that. Absolutely.
So I should not even try to talk to BC Hydro. I just go for the Better Homes federal.
Yeah, I mean, we always encourage a chat with BC Hydro. There's no harm in chatting about your consumption with them. We don't know how those conversations go because we aren't BC Hydro, but definitely a great first step. And then, yeah, looking into that federal program in more detail. It's up to $5,000, so it is actually a bit more of a grant through the federal avenue opposed to the $1,000 through the provincial with BC Hydro.
Okay, so I wasn't able to pay correct attention or enough attention, but I do have, again, I have my house, which is 2,200 square feet, of which 1,000 square feet is a tenant, and they have a gas fireplace, but I pay the bills. So is that a mini setup that I'm looking for, so that they don't have the same requirements that I have in my home?
In terms of the type of heat pump to be installed, is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely be something like a mini split heat pump that you have one or two units upstairs that would service your main living areas, and then one for the basement area. And that way you guys have different temperature preferences and controls as well.
So that's called a mini split. Is that correct?
Yeah, mini split or ductless heat pump is usually what that's called.
And is that exterior of the building?
That would have an outdoor unit as well as an indoor unit. So heat pumps will always have both an indoor and outdoor unit.
So is that an exterior one for the entire property, and then two interior ones? Is that what you're saying?
It might be. Yeah, the best way to get an idea would be to get a couple quotes from a contractor. How that works for your particular home, I wouldn't be able to say specifically, just because that will always be different. But if you do contact a couple different installers for some quotes, they will suggest what would work best for your home's layout.
Thank you for your help.
Of course. Yeah. Do we have any other questions in the group?
Okay, sounds good. Well, then, yeah, thank you so much for attending the webinar, and I hope you'll have a very, very pleasant evening.
And excuse me, you did say it was recorded. So if I wanted to share this with my grandchildren, how do I do that?
Yep, I'll be sending a follow-up email to everyone who registered for the event in a few days. And then that way you'll get a copy of the recording as well as all the questions that came through the chat.
Okay, thanks. That's great. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a great evening. Bye.